Bill, you guys have won 8 out of your last 15 against Iowa State. They're always a tough out, it seems. What do you expect tomorrow?
Well, I think that, record doesn't matter. I think they always seem to play well here. I think of the times that we played them in our building, it seems like the majority of them been, 1 or 2 or 3 possession games, it seems like. So I expect them to play well. I expect them to play fast. They'll play small, play 4 around 1, and they'll do some things that Oklahoma State did, to be honest with you, from a speed standpoint, because they're very, very quick on the perimeter.
Along those lines, what do you see from Solomon Young? He's been there a long time, but seems like a different player a little bit this year.
I actually agree with you, Matt. He has been there a long time. I agree on both fronts. Maybe not Perry Ellis length, but he's been there a long time, it seems like, and can get the year back again, so we could see Solomon again next year. But much improved offensively, scores over both shoulders, got a jump hook's good, his jumper's improved. Not really shooting threes, but certainly has been played to his size and been really effective, especially of late.
Do you like that matchup for Dave?
I don't know. I think Dave, we thought for a long period of time that Dave played better against bigs.
Right.
And then he had the real good game against TCU, and then he followed it up with a good game against Oklahoma, and then with a good game against Oklahoma State, and they weren't really bigs. So I think the reality is that Dave is just playing better, regardless if he's going against a certain size guy. But Solomon, I would consider him a 4-man playing to 5, and so the matchup is good if Dave can play to his size, and it probably plays to their benefit if Solomon can play to his quickness.
You may have just touched on it there, but is it more of Dave just sort of playing to his size more than he was early in the season?
I think there's a lot of things, but without going into major details, his balance is better. I say that he's playing with his feet underneath him for the most part. I think he's become more of a vertical type scorer than a horizontal scorer. It seems to be he used to fade a lot and do some things that maybe wasn't in the his best interest. And I don't think he's eliminated everything totally, but he's still got a lot of ways he can improve. But I think he's playing. He's obviously playing more solid right now than anybody else on our team is.
How can the guys help Marcus as far as taking some of the burden off of him, facilitating the offense?
Kenitra, I think Marcus is better when he's not on the ball so much, but we really don't have as many choices not to put him on the ball unless he and Juan are in the game together. So I don't really see that changing a lot. We can say what we would like to do that's in the best interest of Marcus, but what's in the best interest of our team is still having probably him have the ball in his hands rather than somebody else. So I think that maybe we could use Jalen to initiate a little bit more, but for the most part, the ball does need to be in Mark's hands. And we've talked about that a lot as a staff. Last year, the year before, or year before that, he's really a 3 guard, that could play point. But he didn't have the ball hawker guarding him. He didn't have, he had more space when he caught it usually because of the way people, guarded or the way the other personnel matched up. And this year it just seems like he has to labor so much to get what he gets, even against Oklahoma State. He made some great plays there late, but God, he had to be exhausted, by making those great plays, the way he had to go about scoring. It just wasn't easy for him. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really see that change a lot. I think it's just something that we're going to have to play through, and he's going to have to play through with it.
Bill, throughout your past 17 years at Kansas, you've had your back against the wall several times, many times, and most every time they responded by defense, toughness, etc. Do you sense that in this year's team?
Well, I don't know where your question's really going, Dave, because in all honesty, you feel like your back's against the wall every single game. I mean, you feel like when you play here, you got to win every game. And you certainly feel like you have to win the league. So if you're saying our back's against the wall to win the league, absolutely it is. I mean, there's no question about that. If you're saying our back's against the wall to have a great season, absolutely not. It's not. It's too long a season. There's too many things going on in our world today. Who knows what 2 weeks will bring? I don't look at it that way at all. But I do look at it in the way you're saying. If the expectation is to compete for the league championship, our back is against the wall. You know, we've and I don't think either loss to Texas or Oklahoma State's a bad loss. I don't think that at all. I think the fact of the matter, you're up 3 with a minute left, it becomes a tough loss. So, the Texas game was never in doubt. So I don't look at that as anything other than they just beat our butt today. But and I said the other day, we didn't deserve to win that game in Stillwater, obviously, but we probably easily could have won that game in Stillwater if we'd have made just one player so late. The guys will respond. They always respond. It's a different team, and I also think this. You look around America, and you have a lot of programs, that are expected to win at the highest level, and there's disappointment when they don't, but it's not disappointment that, okay, well, good gosh, we can't catch Virginia to win the league now, or we can't catch Michigan to win the league now. It's that people don't look at it that way across America because they know how hard it is to win the league. I think here it's just as hard to win the league, but people I think sometimes our people may take for granted how hard it really is to win the league, and how anything less than that can be a disappointment. I don't want our players to feel disappointed. We weren't picked to win the league going into this year. I don't want our players to feel that disappointment, but I still think we can. I still think we can win it. I would feel better if, in fact, we had a little bit more margin for error. But as good as our league is, other teams aren't going to lose a lot. So we've got to play, better than what we have in order to put ourselves in a position to still, have a shot, when going in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Hey, within Aruna, a couple of things on him. Number one, do you feel like he's ready for, now that Bryce is out a little longer, do you think he's ready to understand his role and his importance? And he seems like he's been playing that way. You know
what, Matt? It's a great question, but Bryce out does not really impact him, because If you think about it, if Bryce is out, and Marcus is in, that means you got basically three men or 3.5 men playing. You got Jalen, Christian, and Tristan, and that's not being negative. That's just the way it would probably be. And with that lineup, you don't really still have the ball handling and some things like that to break people down. So I think that when I look at Tristan, I still look at playing a second guard along with Marcus, whoever that would be, and still playing the 2 tall wings. I don't really look at it playing the 3 tall wings very often. But is he ready to have a bigger role and all those things? Absolutely. He's played pretty well the last couple of games. He made a bad play at Oklahoma State. He made a bad play and gave the guy an and one. That was a bad play, but really, other than that, I think Tristan has performed pretty well for us.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you too. What was it about his play the other night that you had him out there during that run that you guys made?
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't thinking that the other 2 had anything going positively at all.
Sure.
So, and if you really look at it, Tristan made a couple of good plays, but that entire time they were out there, we played triangle and 2. And we go on a good run. We had a good offensive stretch, but it was a patient good. It wasn't like a quick strike good. It was a patient good. And then, defensively, we kind of just got them out of kilter a little bit, but it wasn't really anything that we were really locking in and guarding. It was more like, let's make a couple of guys beat us that they don't want to have to make beat us. And certainly he ended up doing it at the end, but by shooting the three. But, I thought Tristan did well. I thought Bryce did well. You look at Bryce stats, he's 0 for 3 and makes 2 free throws. And he was just as big a part of the comeback as the other guys, not from a statistical standpoint, just from a competitive standpoint. So, but I really think that, CB and Jalen will and can both give us, more than what we probably got the other night against OSU.
Christian said at times the team's defensive attitude is a little too cool. Do you agree with that? Well,
I agree 50% because it's not sometimes, it's all the time. We don't have, that we haven't had the mindset to lock people up, and that's not being totally negative. We have at times this year done that and done it quite well. But when we did it the other times, our intensity level and our quickness seemed so much more prevalent than what it does or what it did the other night. I thought we played like we were in kind of playing in sand, so to speak. So our it's not really our effort, our energy, our activities just got to be so much improved, in my opinion, in order to get it back closer to 100%. Nobody's ever 100, but we could certainly operate at 80%, and we didn't do that at all the other night.
Along those lines, I remember you mentioning after the Kentucky game that you felt going super small, playing 5 guards. Maybe that caused guys to lock in more just for fear of being embarrassed by the bigger teams. Do you think that's something that could spark the defense in that aspect?
Yeah, it could, Scott, but who's our best offensive player? So, it's we better be able to do both. I don't think you take your best offensive weapon out in order to play, a team that really isn't turned up or doing the things that they should be doing. In my opinion, I think you got to be able to do both. And I'm not going to remotely think that guy's energy level escalates because a 5-man's not in the game. I'm not going to believe that at all. I think the energy level is probably the same. And when I was talking about get embarrassed, I don't remember ever saying getting embarrassed, but if I did, I think I was talking about more from a defensive rebounding standpoint than I was, actually, guarding your man, because when you play that small and you got real athletes going after the ball like Kentucky did, you better fight pretty hard on the glass. So,
Bill, now that you have a few of each under your belt, how would you sort of describe the impact between having limited fans at home games versus having limited fans when you guys go play on the road?
I don't know how other coaches feel. I think it helps. I think it hurts us both ways. I think at home, there's some things that our fan base can do to take an average performance and somewhat flip it to make it a place where you could get energy, and through that energy you get 1 or 2 steals or a quick basket that totally flips the game. I think on the road, I think that's what our guys live for and playing in those environments. So I don't think it's not an excuse. I just think it's the way it is. I think that we would perform from a preparation, from an energy, from a look forward to event. I think we would perform better knowing that there would be a full house wherever we play. But still, though, that's not an excuse. You got to create your own energy, and I think our guys have not been good at doing that. Whereas packed houses, that's what we've always thrived on. We could feed off the negative energy at an away crowd, or we could feed off the positive energy of a home crowd.
Hey, Christian mentioned earlier he's in a bit of a shooting slump. Just how do you think he's playing overall right now?
Well, I think that what I would tell CB, and I don't like it if a shooter would ever admit that he's in a slump. I don't think
he may not have used that word exactly.
Yeah, I hope he didn't, because I don't think he's in a slump. I think he's missed shots. But I will say this from that. A guy that has a reputation of being a shooter, you should not base his good or poor play based on if the ball goes in the hole or not. There's plenty of other things guys can do to bring value to help a team win, and Christian's certainly capable of doing that, and he knows that. So I don't, hey, Jalen didn't make a shot, but I wouldn't be disappointed in Jalen because he didn't make a shot. He's made plenty for us. He's made plenty of big ones. There's still things that we can do to compensate when you don't, and that's the kind of stuff that, my father, that's one of the first things he ever told me. He said, so you play good if you make shots, you play bad if you don't. Wow, that takes a lot of courage. How are you going to help a team win when things aren't going that way? And I do think that Jalen and CB can both do more in that regard, but I'm not worried about their shot, not at all.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, guys.